I loved this movie until the ending. Let's do it. Chapter 2 opens up 27 years after the first movie, and we meet this couple, Adrian and Dawn. They're in Derry, and they get just bullied and beat up by this group who is just mad at them because they're gay. They throw Adrian over a bridge into a river where he is picked up and killed by Pennywise, who has returned. We see Mike, all grown up, go to the crime scene, and he's the only one of the Losers Club that is still living in Derry. Everybody else has moved away. So he starts calling the other six, but they seem to not remember him or Derry, and Mike has to remind them, we made a promise when we were kids that we would come back and fight this when it came back. All of them are hesitant, but ultimately they all go back with the exception of Stanley, who is so terrified that he takes himself out. But the other 5 of them go back to Derry, and as they get to town, their memories start to come back. And at dinner with Mike, they remember the clown. Pennywise reveals to them through fortune cookies that Stan is dead. The 5 of them are really freaked out, and Richie, Eddie, and Ben decide that they want to leave. They're like, fuck this, we didn't sign up for this shit. Until Beverly reveals to them that she has had a vision of every one of their deaths. They're all horrific, and they don't make it that much longer unless they kill it. They decide to stay, and Mike tells them what the next steps are. Meanwhile, we see Pennywise just wreaking havoc on Derry once again. He kills this little girl at a baseball game, and then he presents himself to Henry Bowers, who is still alive. We see that after he was thrown down the well in the last movie, he washed out of the well and was promptly arrested for the murder of his father. And he's been in a psychiatric facility ever since, and Pennywise presents himself to Henry as his dead friend Patrick. He helps Henry escape to go assist him in killing the Losers Club. Mike ends up taking just Bill back to the library where he drugs him so that he hallucinates and sees what Mike saw. It turns out Mike went to this Native American tribe to get answers on what it is. And essentially, he saw through visions that it is this interdimensional being that has been on Earth since the beginning of time. They also showed him how to defeat it, which is through a ritual called the Ritual of Chud. He and Bill convince the rest of the group to stay, and Mike tells them that the next step is they all have to find a totem. So they all have to separate on their own and find it themselves. So Bill goes back to his own street where he sees the sewer that it took Georgie in, and he sees this apparition of Georgie, which of course we know is Pennywise, but he gets Georgie's sailboat, so that's Bill's totem. Beverly goes back to her old house where she finds the poem that Ben wrote her, and she's attacked by this creepy-ass old woman who, of course, is Pennywise. Richie gets a token from the arcade that he used to spend his summers in, and of course he's also attacked by Pennywise. Eddie goes to the pharmacy and gets an inhaler where he's attacked by Pennywise in the form of a leper again. Ben decides that his totem is this yearbook page that he had that was signed by only Beverly, and he goes back to his old high school to reminisce where he's attacked by Pennywise, or at least has a memory of when he, as a kid, was attacked by Pennywise. Because interwoven with all this, we're getting flashbacks from when they were kids. They go back to their old treehouse where they find a shower cap that would have been Stan's totem. They all get back to the hotel after finding their totems, and Richie is just freaking the fuck out after seeing Pennywise, and he decides that he's leaving for good this time. Meanwhile, Bill goes to the local fair because he knows that Pennywise's next victim is this little kid Dean that they had met earlier. He tries to save him, but it's useless because he watches on helplessly as Pennywise eats the kid. Meanwhile, back at the hotel, Eddie goes up to his bathroom where he finds Henry Bowers, who stabs Eddie through the cheek. Eddie manages to take that knife out of his cheek and stab Henry back with it, but Henry escapes. He goes to the library where he proceeds to attack Mike and try to kill him. On his way out of town, Richie stopped at the library and finds this happening and kills Bowers first. Beverly, Ben, and Eddie meet them at the library where they get a call from Bill saying, "I just saw a kid die, I'm ending this, I'm going to the house on Neibolt Street." Of course, the group isn't going to let Bill face this alone, so they go and meet him there too. The group goes down through the well to Pennywise's lair and they begin the Ritual of Chud. They put all their totems in this thing that Mike got from the Native American tribe, and it turns out his totem is this rock that he saved from the Rock War. The ritual works for a second until it doesn't. And Pennywise reveals himself to them in the form of a giant spider. Basically, he calls out Mike for lying to all of them, and he's like, "Why don't you tell them what actually happened to the tribe that tried to kill me?" And Mike is basically like, "Yeah, I left out the part that they all died." The group all gets separated, and Pennywise attacks them separately. It gives Beverly this hallucination that she is in a bathroom that's filling up with blood. It gives Ben this hallucination that he is in the treehouse that's filling up with dirt. However, he and Beverly help each other escape and basically realize that they're in love. Bill has this hallucination where his younger self confronts him for being responsible for the death of Georgie. Bill confronts his younger self saying it wasn't our fault, and he finally releases that guilt. They all end up running back to the cave where Richie looks into Pennywise's deadlights and is made catatonic because of it. Richie throws a spike through Pennywise's mouth, which hurts him and pulls Richie out of the trance. Pennywise proceeds to impale Eddie through the chest with the spike. And as he's dying, Eddie tells the group about his encounter with the leper earlier and how he made it feel small, and that's how he defeated it. So they understand that what they have to do is make Pennywise feel small. And this is the part where it gets silly. They literally just start shit-talking Pennywise, calling him a clown and calling him all these silly names, until he literally shrivels down into this tiny mini Pennywise. Mike reaches in and grabs his beating heart, and all the losers just crush it in their hands, and they defeat him that way. When they go back to Eddie, they see that he has died from his injuries, and the cave starts to collapse around them, so they have to leave his body while they escape the house, and they do make it out. The 5 remaining losers go to the quarry where they used to hang out when they were kids, comfort Richie, who is just distraught over Eddie's death, and we learn that Richie was actually in love with Eddie, so that's why he's so distraught. This cool shot where they walk into town and they look in a window and see a reflection of themselves as kids, and they all go their separate ways. We see that Beverly and Ben go off and get married. We see Richie carve him and Eddie's initials into a bridge in Derry before he leaves town. We see Mike finally decides to leave Derry. We see Bill on the phone with Mike, and he realizes he got a letter from Stanley. So before he died, Stanley wrote each of the losers a letter telling them about how he knew he was too scared to face it, so he took himself out for the betterment of the group. We get a voiceover of Stanley's voice reading the letter about how they will always be losers, and we see flashbacks to them as kids, and the movie ends.